tall. Or I was the mountain. But I was moving. I felt dizzy.
We were once more than we are.
Welcome to part 2, covering my most important loose ends I'm hoping the Veilguard will give us more information about. Don't forget to check out part 1 about the Blight and Red Lyrium, linked in the description below. And be warned about spoilers for all Dragon Age content, even some of the released info for Veilguard. Part 2. Titans, Dwarves, Lyrium, and Magic. Alright, I have over 20 pages of notes for all this Titan, Dwarfy, Lyrium-y stuff because I wanted to eventually make a whole series on it. But to be honest, I had a lot of trouble doing that because it's all just a bunch of disjointed thoughts that don't really quite fit together in a coherent way. So I'm pretty sure I won't be able to make it make sense in time for the release. So I apologize if this section is a little long and all over the place. I mean, I just have so many questions. Like, just how big are these Titans? Are the Titans the Earth, kind of like tectonic plates? Or are they smaller and just blend into the land? Are they sentient? Are they sapient? Can I romance one? And how many are there? We know there's the one underneath the Storm Coast where the descent takes place.
The stone lives beneath Orlais.
And this guy seems to think there's one under Orlais if we assume the stone is a Titan, which I do, but we'll come back to that in a minute. And I'm assuming the Primeval Tig from Dragon Age 2 is within or at least nearby a Blighted Titan. So it seems like there's at least 3, but probably a lot more would be my guess. But anyways, let's talk about what we do know. Titans seem to be primordial type beings that shape the earth with their movements, but they're asleep now.
It shapes the stone. It is the stone. It sculpts the world within and without. This implies that the Titans are actually sculptors, and our world is their clay.
And they seem to have a song or a rhythm with an intelligence that calls out to dwarves who have a strong stone sense.
They sing in the stone, shaping it.
All I heard was an earthquake. How is it you and Ren hear a rhythm?
Our people have a strong connection to the stone. We feel it in a way topsiders cannot.
And that's kind of almost all we really know about them. But let's take a look at how each of these 2 pieces of information can actually lead us down some pretty long rabbit holes. First, they shape the earth. The Titan we meet in the Descent DLC seems to have woken from some kind of a dormant slumber and is agitated by the breach.
The breach. That's what disturbed the Titan.
So why and how is this Titan asleep? I have a few ideas. Throughout Inquisition, and particularly in Trespasser DLC, we get some hints that the Evanuris, or the Elven Gods, were at war with the Titans and the Dwarves at some point long, long ago. I'm wondering if this has anything to do with them shaping the earth and why they're in a slumber. Let me explain. Found in the Temple of Mythal, the Codex A Song to Elgernon says, Elgernon, wrath and thunder, give us glory, give us victory over the earth that shakes our cities. Strike the usurpers with your lightning, burn the ground under your gaze, bring winged death against those who throw down our work. Elgernon, help us tame the land. And later in Trespasser, the Codex Virdathara Signs of Victory says, the pages of this book, Memory, describe a monument made in a single afternoon by 1,000 toiling servants, swarming over a lump of fallen stone as large as a collapsed mountain. By the end of the day, the stern figure of Elgernon stares down into a valley, carved out from the foothills of the rock. The slaves have disappeared. Light radiates from the Eidolon's narrowed eyes and its open, snarling mouth. Hail Elgernon, first among the gods, mark his victory eternal. But it doesn't seem to be only Elgernon who is fighting Titans. The Codex Old Elven Writing from the Temple of Mythal says, in this place we prepare to hunt the pillars of the earth. Their workers scurry, witless, soulless. This death will be a mercy. We will make the earth blossom with their passing. This seems to imply that even Mythal's army was preparing to fight the Titans. And even more foreboding, in a secret room in the Trespasser DLC, hidden in a mural of what appears to be probably a Titan, its heart glowing and breaking it apart, the Codex Veilfire Runes in the Deep Roads says, Hail Mythal, adjudicator and savior, She has struck down the pillars of the earth and rendered their domain unto the people. Praise her name forever. For a moment, the scent of blood fills the air, and there is a vivid image of green vines growing and enveloping a sphere of fire. The vision grows dark, an eon seems to pass, then the runes crackle as if filled with an angry energy. A new vision appears, elves collapsing caverns, sealing the deep roads with stone and magic. Terror, heart-pounding, ice-cold as the last of the spells is cast. A voice whispers, "What the Evaneris in their greed could unleash would end us all. Let this place be forgotten. Let no one wake its anger. The people must rise before their false gods and destroy them all." So why would the Evaneris have wanted to fight the Titans? It could be as simple as they wanted to free the Dwarves, as implied with "their death will be a mercy" in the old Elven writing codex. But something Cole said about Templars and Varric stands out to me.
The Lyrium helps, but their bodies always want to connect to something older, bigger than they are. That's why they block magic. They reach for that other thing, and magic has no room to come in. Like when I listen to Varric.
I've always kind of had difficulty putting this idea into words, so bear with me. But it makes me wonder if the Titans and Dwarves are kind of like anti-magic. Let's take a look at the Codex Virdathara, attentive listeners. It says, "The pages of this book, Memory, show a solemn group of elves in an amphitheater of living wood, entire trees grown into seats and stairs for the listeners to recline on. Two other elves in a spirit of learning are speaking in turn on ways to bend the properties of the material world when casting spells. At the end, the spirit, with the air of a senior lecturer, floats forward and booms in a surprisingly deep voice. The unchanging world is delicate. Spells of power invite disaster and annihilation. The unchanging world is stubborn. The pull of the earth fiercely resists making fire run like water or stone rise like mist. The unchanging world rings with its own harmony. Listen with fearless hearts, and great works will unfold." So maybe this unchanging world was talking about the Titans. Did Titans threaten the elves' ability to manipulate things with magic? That old Elven writing codex from the Temple of Mythal also references making the world blossom with the Titans passing. Meaning once they're gone, maybe they'll be able to create more things with magic. I think it might be kind of similar to this conversation between Cassandra and Solas.
What is it like when Templars nullify magic, Solas?
It is as though you are drawing upon the world around us. Mages draw forth the essence of the Fade, and use that essence to shape reality.
And our powers drive it back, making this world harder to affect?
In a manner of speaking. You reinforce reality so it is less mutable. The Fade has nowhere to gain a foothold, and the magic disperses.
Another reason the Elven Gods could have wanted to fight the Titans was for pure power. A really commonly accepted theory is that the orb that Solas uses is one of the many orbs that harnesses the power of a Titan heart.
The orb he carried, it is ours.
Such things were foci, said to channel power from our gods. Some were dedicated to specific members of our pantheon.
The Titan's heart in the mural that Solas painted in the Deep Roads looks an awfully lot like other paintings we see of the orb. We also can see orbs lying around in the crossroads in Trespasser, and Dorian even mentions that he has seen paintings of ancient dreamers with orbs.
That orb Corypheus carries, are you certain it's of elven origin, Solas?
I believe so. Why do you ask?
There are paintings in the Magisterium's archives of men holding similar orbs. They were depictions of a time long before the Magisters, the ancient dreamers, perhaps. The texts called those orbs somnamborium, vessels of dreams. Could they be the same thing?
If there are this many orbs, maybe that means that there actually are a lot of Titans, and these were all the hearts of killed ones. But no matter what the reason for the Elven Gods messing with the Titans, Solas' mural in the Deep Roads and Trespasser seems to indicate that it might have been the final straw for him to start his rebellion. Seems like he thought something had to be done. And when I read that codex, I always got the impression that what the Evaneris in their greed could unleash would end us all was referring to the Blight, or Red Lyrium. So I wonder if maybe the Blight, or Red Lyrium, is a Titan's self-defense mechanism and the Elven Gods released it.
They made bodies from the earth, and the earth was afraid. It fought back, but they made it forget.
It also makes me think that maybe Solas's huge, devastating move of putting up the veil is what put the Titans to sleep. If the Titan themselves are the land, I wonder if the Fade or the sky is their mind, their consciousness. Maybe the Titans are cut off from the Fade or their mind by the veil, putting them into some kind of forced Euthenera, or maybe even making them something like tranquil.
You must understand. I awoke in a world where the veil had blocked most people's conscious connection to the Fade. It was like walking through a world of tranquil.
Solas equates all of us being disconnected from the Fade by the veil as being tranquil. So is that what it's like for a Titan cut off from the Fade?
The stone, still there, silent and reaching up for the blood that walks. No dreams with the cord cut. You sell it.
The cord that Cole mentions seems to be talking about Lyrium, the blood of Titans. The World of Thedas Volume 1 says, Lyrium's appearance in the Fade suggests it somehow bridges the gap between the Dreamer's world and the waking world of Thedas. Is that why the Titan nearest to the rift in the Descent DLC began waking up? It was reconnecting to the Fade? Okay, that was a long ramble, so let's get back to our second point of what we do know about the Titans. They seem to have a song that dwarves can hear. A song reminiscent of the calling of the Blight, and reminiscent of a song that people say Lyrium has.
So long as the music plays, we dance.
Let's take a closer look at the Titans' connection with the dwarves.
You said you were a child of the stone, not a child of the Titans.
I am not certain what I am, but the Titan recognized me, like a parent hearing its child's voice.
So it appears that the dwarves are not necessarily children of the stone, but children of the Titan. It seems that parts of modern dwarven culture and beliefs have been heavily influenced by their ancient relationship with the Titans. The concept of the stone, shapers, and possibly even their strict caste system.
Maybe your people were different back then.
I know enough about our history to know we haven't changed much. Dwarves have been mired in tradition for many ages.
So let's go back to that thing Cole said about the dwarves.
The stone, still there, silent and reaching up for the blood that walks.
So he's saying that the stone is reaching up for the blood that walks. Could that be the dwarves themselves? Are they the Titan's blood that walks? I think Dagna's vision she rambles about after the Here Lies the Abyss quest gives us the biggest clue about the history of the dwarves' relationship with the Titans.
There's something there. I was face deep in a rune, and for a moment, I was tall. Really tall. And I thought all the thoughts. As if for a moment, I was around all my people, and my thought was all of theirs.
Your thoughts were their thoughts?
No, my thought was all of our thoughts, like parts. Words are mush. Maybe that's what the stone feels like. Or we think it feels like. If we think it feels.
This comment has led a lot of people to believe that the dwarves were once a hive mind of the Titan, sharing the same thoughts, a collective consciousness, all stemming from the Titan as the main body.
Why are dwarves so short but carve their tunnels so tall?
Their ancient shapers were mountains drawn of all their wills, walking their memories into valleys of the world.
So it sounds like the Titans were the original shapers, literally shaping the earth with their movements, and the Shabratal staying inside, protecting their physical bodies, kind of like an immune system.
Only the pure may pass. All others will be punished. Assuming the Shabratal are the pure,
we're the others who aren't allowed to pass.
They do wear sealed armor to protect themselves from impurities?
And the dwarves set out, serving as extensions of themselves, traveling the world, acting as the Titan's eyes, ears, mouths, hands, memories.
Dwarves are the severed arm of a once mighty hero, lying in a pool of blood, undirected. Whatever skill at arms it had, gone forever. Although it might twitch to give the appearance of life, it will never dream.
So imagine the Titan we meet in the Descent waking up due to the breach and not having any clue what's going on. No connection to the outside world, with no eyes or ears to give it any sense of understanding. No wonder it was freaking out.
It is calm now that it has a connection with one of its children. With me.
This is probably why it felt comforted by connecting with Volta, one of its external sources, rather than the Shabratal, who can give it no connection to the outside world. So how does all this relate to the next game? When Volta reconnects with her Titan, she suddenly has some magical type abilities. This is basically unheard of in the Dragon Age universe. Dwarves just simply couldn't do magic before. They're cut off from the Fade, and dwarf mages just straight up do not exist. Period.
Notice that for a people with no mages, dwarves use an awful lot of magic.
But spoiler alert for Veilguard. It appears our companion Scout Harding uses magic. This is a pretty important tidbit of lore that was just kind of released in passing in some random article, but I thought it was one of the biggest lore drops that we've had about Veilguard. Considering Volta's newfound powers, and now Scout Harding's, I think this implies that instead of dwarves getting their magic through the Fade, as most mages do, they get it from their connection to the Titans. So with this information, has Harding somehow connected with a Titan? Are all dwarves starting to connect with Titans, or is it just specifically her? That one Titan in the Descent was waking up because of the breach in the Veil. What's causing the Titans to wake up now? Is Solas's ritual waking up more Titans, causing the dwarves to get magic? After Volta gets changed by the Titan, her codex about the Shabratal says, "The Shabratal saw the Titan favor me with the gift of shaping stone. I am more powerful than they will ever be. They fear me. They love me. They understand I'm a part of the Titan they defend." In one of the concept arts of Harding, we can see something that looks like she's mysteriously made of Lyrium, perhaps? I wonder if this will make it into the game, or what it says about dwarfs and their connection to Lyrium and the Titans. Also, let's look at what Harding's magic looks like. We can see blue veins light up as she accidentally casts her spell. Kinda reminds me of Fenris's Lyrium tattoos. She's seen here turning Darkspawn to stone, and later putting up a wall of stone. Seems pretty apt for a power that comes from the stone. It also reminds me a lot of Solas's ability to petrify the Kunari in Trespasser. Was Solas harnessing some Titan magic when he did that? And not to mention Sandal's mysterious not enchantment in DA2.
And how did you do that?
Not enchantment.
Though I originally thought this was an ice ability, now I'm thinking that it was probably him actually turning the ogre to stone. And then my last random thoughts about Titans that don't really fit in with what I've talked about so far. First, could they somehow be related to Archdemon prisons? Hedron Tig from the Descent appears to predate the First Blight. The landmark codex we find there tells the story of dwarves who were mining Lyrium only to be interrupted by creatures with faces of the dead. It says, "I inquired if anyone else has heard from their Hedron contacts. Nothing. I worry that it has something to do with those creatures that wear the faces of the dead." What were these creatures with faces of the dead? It couldn't have been the Legion of the Dead, because they only existed after the First Blight. What if these creatures with faces of the dead were their first experience with Darkspawn? And if so, were those Darkspawn heading toward freeing the first Archdemon? In the World of Thedas Volume 2, there's a snippet called What Remains of an Archdemon. It mentions a location in the Deep Roads called Hedron Turning, which I'm assuming must be nearby the Tig. It says, "We broke through into Darkspawn tunnels, strange ones too. Looked like they'd clawed through the stone with their bare hands. They fought us shoulder to shoulder down there, and they weren't grinning anymore. When we came to the cavern, we saw why, and why the Hedron Turning up above was falling apart. There's no filth like Darkspawn, and no filth like an Archdemon's, even one long gone and turned to dust. The cavern was ripe with stench, claw marks ripped into the rock. Darkspawn corpses sat here and there, dried out, heads pressed against the stone. They'd died praying, we realized. This hadn't just been an Archdemon's lair. This was what remained of its prison." So it sounds like maybe somewhere nearby this Hedron Tig is an old abandoned Archdemon prison. If Hedron Tig closed at the first blight, when these creatures with faces of the dead showed up and they were unfamiliar with them and unsure what they were, I think maybe they could have been the Darkspawn coming closer to release the first Archdemon Dumont. Is this what stirred the Titan about 1,000 years ago?
Titans do not stir easily. It has been 1,000 years.
And if this is true, why was the prison so close to the Titan? Is it just a coincidence? Or do Titans serve as a prison for them? Or maybe Titans power the prisons in some way? Or maybe just somehow otherwise related? And would that mean that the Sharbatal then came after the Archdemon was gone? Or are they just completely immune to the blight? They somehow have just completely avoided it, which no other civilization really seems to have been able to do. So what makes them special? Are they what keep the Darkspawn away? Why do Darkspawn avoid this place?
No evidence of Darkspawn here.
Let's just be grateful.
But there must be a reason they avoid this place.
And finally, my last thought on Titans. I'm not going to say much about it right now because it's pretty freaking tinfoily and needs to be a whole theory video on its own. But are Titans somehow related to the Forgotten Ones? I'll just kind of lay out some of the little clues that spark that idea in my brain. First, dwarves and their importance of memories.
And there's no mention of the Titans in Orzamar's memories.
Which tells you something.
Which I think is ironically opposite of forgotten. The Titans being stricken from the dwarven memories and thus forgotten.
The Shaperate can erase official records. Aren't the memories permanent?
Sometimes erasing records is standard procedure.
If the Shaperate is willing to erase memories, what would prevent them from covering up the existence of Titans?
Why would they do that?
Because someone in power demanded it.
The Titans war with the Evanuris, and we know that the Forgotten Ones were constantly warring with the Evanuris. Elven God Andruel's codex that kind of hints that maybe she found red lyrium and was yelling things meant to be forgotten. Solas's codex about the Titans saying, "Let this place be forgotten."
The songs are old here. Sleeping sadness already forgotten.
Just so many little coincidences like that I can't help but wonder if they're somehow related. If I have time before release, I'd love to make a video that dives a little deeper into that theory. So keep an eye out and subscribe if you're interested in that, but I'm making no promises. I'm pretty slow at making these videos, and there's only about a month left as of me recording this till the game comes out. There are so many other things I want to know more about the lore, but these are the two subjects, the Blight and the Titans, that are at the top of my list. What lore are you hoping to find out more about in Veilguard?